Hey guys, we're here for episode 11 of the e-commerce opportunity where I'm joined by Raphael. Raphael, how are you, my friend?
Hey man, I'm doing great. Thanks for
Good.
having me.
Good, of course. I'm pumped to have you here. Do you mind kind of starting with what you're working on?
Yeah, so I run an agency called SplitBase, and we do conversion optimization and landing page optimization for direct-to-consumer brands. So we typically help e-commerce brands that are between 10 million to 100 million just really optimize their landing pages and website to improve performance. I always say, people relate to the term conversion optimization, but at the end of the day, what we do is really customer experience optimization, right? Business optimization. We're trying to make sure that, your marketing materials, your website just kind of relates more to your customers.
I love that, man. Do you mind like breaking down? I know you kind of just mentioned a little bit. Do you mind breaking down like what is CRO? What are some of the things you do? I think it's one of those words that everyone hears CRO and they have different definitions. Like, how would you define the kind of CRO and like the work that you guys actually do?
Yeah, so I'll probably start with like the biggest misconception about CRO, because this is what I see very, very often when I talk with brands that maybe aren't super familiar with CRO. And the thing is, I think the issues stem with the term CRO, right? Conversion rate optimization. People think that conversion optimization is about optimizing the conversion rate. But the truth is, it's not about that one metric. It's not even about your average order value. It's about optimizing for the action that you need your visitors to take, right? It's optimizing for a better experience. So yes, ultimately you make more money and you're more profitable and that your lifetime value goes up and all of that. But the way that I like to look at conversion optimization is that we're really trying to learn. The first step of it is trying to learn about your customers and seeing, hey, people that come to your site, right, as an e-commerce store, what are they looking for? How are they navigating? What are their needs? And ultimately, like, going beyond that, it's trying to understand what type of doubts, objections, or positive things that they want that you need to understand to improve your website or landing pages. So that's kind of like really the first part of CRO is about better understanding your customer. It's about doing that research. Once that's done, really, it's about utilizing that information, those quantitative and qualitative insights that you gather, and building up an experimentation program, right? If you think of, your science classes in school, right, you had to, write a hypothesis and run an experiment and see what led to which result. At the end of the day, conversion optimization is the exact same thing. Based on the data you have, you come up with a hypothesis. Well, let's say your customers, I don't know, you find out that your customers really like or convert really well with user-generated content, right? UGC. Well, then maybe you're going to have a hypothesis saying that having UGC on the product pages instead of campaign shots may perform better, right? You actually don't know if what works best. So you're going to go ahead and test it. So that's, the second part of conversion optimization. It's about testing and validating or invalidating your hypothesis and learning more about your customers in the process. And that's where I think people get it wrong. They think it's about trying to see what's better and the wins, but it's really a research methodology. It's about researching, better understanding your customers, and then making decisions that will lead to a higher revenue level.
Wow, I love that. Thank you. How did you get into all this? Like, how did you get into CRO? How did you personally kind of start your career and ultimately start like the agency around this?
Yeah, I can't remember how old I was, but I think I was like in ninth grade or I was in high school. And I remember I just really wanted to start an online business, or not even an online business, but I just really wanted to do something. And, obviously, like when you're back in school, there's not much that you can do when it comes to building a business. All the ideas that I had at the time were not necessarily achievable for someone in that position. Now, I don't even know if Shopify existed back then, or how well-known e-commerce like Shopify stuff was at the time. But I always had a big interest in marketing. And I kind of built this website where small business owners could send their website, the link to their website or their marketing materials to marketing experts who would then kind of review those marketing materials and provide feedback to those small businesses. While building that website, at the end of the day, I had no idea how to run a business, and it never took off because I didn't realize that I didn't have website traffic, and how to really get that website traffic was a whole other story. But I just really wanted this thing to succeed and to work. So I started learning about, how to get clients online. And that's kind of how I found conversion optimization. And let's not forget conversion optimization at the time, and I may be confusing the timelines, but when I first started learning about conversion optimization, I thought that was the problem of the businesses I was trying to launch, is that the website wasn't resonating with customers, or that it didn't have the right buttons or things like that. I didn't know about traffic acquisition. And ultimately, I just started reading more and more about it. And keep in mind that conversion optimization back then, like, there was no CXL Institute or big blog on the topic where you could learn about it. There was Brian Eisenberg, who pretty much coined the term, and he had a course on the topic that was actually quite hard to find, but there was very little. But I was just like so obsessed about it, and I thought it was super interesting that over the years, I did some marketing. I was the freelance digital marketer, did a few things here and there, and I would always gravitate back towards conversion optimization. And years later, after a small break going into Bitcoin and things like that, I was like, hey, you know what, like, marketing's still my thing. And that was probably, 5 years ago when I initially started SplitBase. And I was like, I just love this optimization aspect. I love e-commerce. And so SplitBase was born. I was doing freelancing, but I wanted to do more. So I had to build a team, and, now here we are today.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I want to talk about SplitBase in 1 second, but before I do, I would love to get your take on, like, who should be leveraging CRO, like what size businesses, like, does it make sense? Like, for you right now, you're focused on, it sounds like 10 million above, right? So 8-figure plus companies, due to your expertise and your size and probably what you charge. But like, where should someone start? Like, is it from day one? Is it at X number of visits? Is it at X number of dollars in revenue? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I think when someone starts, right, when you're just starting out, honestly, you're much better off focusing on traffic acquisition than optimization. Because, in the early stages, truth is, you need to figure out, like, is my product resonating with, customers? And I mean, even before that, you're trying to understand who your customers are. You don't even know who is, your core target. So I think in the beginning, I see sometimes brands that are starting out and they reach out to us and they're like, hey, we need help with CRO. We're about to launch soon, and they're brand new. Truth is, yes, there's about 1,000 blog posts by marketers who likely know nothing about conversion optimization, but that wrote it for SEO purposes, that talks about, hey, you should be testing, you should be doing this and that. The truth is, look, well, to me, conversion optimization is about better understanding your customers. And from that point, I mean, you can do A/B testing, you can do other things. So I would say first, get some sales, launch. You're going to go off of your own assumptions in the beginning anyways, right? But once you gain some traction, and where's that number? I can't really give a number. I don't think there's a magic number, but at some point, right? Once you feel like you have some traction, well, maybe you don't yet have enough traffic to A/B test, right? And to really run those experiments. But doesn't mean that you can't improve, right? Conversion optimization is not A/B testing. A/B testing is something we use in our work as, conversion optimizers. But what I think that businesses can do when they want to get started with conversion optimization is, number one, hey, call your first customers. Like, to me, and I've seen this firsthand trying to launch businesses that failed, way before SplitBase. And it's that very often, on entrepreneurs that launch e-commerce businesses or online businesses, think that they can build the company without really talking with customers. But the truth is, your screen, it gives you this false sense of confidence about how well you understand your customers. And the truth is, until you actually pick up the phone and call your customers, read all your support tickets, send surveys, and just really understand who these people are, why they're buying, why they're hesitating to buy, and things like that, you're still going to be operating off of your blind spots. And I mean, we all have blind spots. They're always going to be there. But, I think the biggest thing to remember is when you gain traction, do not forget to communicate with your customers, because when you think that you really know your customers, sometimes that's when you realize that you've been missing out on an entire segment or something else, right? So that's kind of my guidelines when it comes to CRO.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I do want to talk about your agency, and I want to talk about SplitBase. What does the team size look like, and how do you go about finding new folks to join the team?
Yeah, so I have to say, finding new team members is probably one of the biggest challenges ever. Now, we're right now, I think 14, 15, something like that. The biggest challenge with finding new team members for us is that there's a lot of people, for example, who does email marketing or media buying, or maybe project management, or something's related to digital marketing. There's very few people who focused specifically on conversion optimization. And the truth is, a lot of conversion optimization, the way that I like to look at it is that it's not necessarily a discipline. It's like it's a process that links all of your other digital marketing initiatives at the same time. And you can't really do it in a silo, or it's not about knowing one thing. You kind of have to know a lot of things about a lot of things. So finding someone who understands, like how, stats work when it comes to A/B testing, or how to, prioritize experiments that are on site and not, in Facebook, for example, is something that's been really hard for us. So of course, LinkedIn, Angel List are some of the best places to find these people. Most people that we end up hiring that don't have like firsthand experience managing an optimization program, they're generally people that are very data driven, that come from a media buying world, right? Like they're already senior media buyers, or maybe they were designers, but like very focused on usability research or qualitative research, right? And then, we make sure that internally we train them for the things that may be missing. But yeah, I think the digital marketing space is, obviously it's competitive. There's, I think everyone needs digital marketers. So finding the right people at the right time is not always easy, that I have to say.
Yeah, man, I completely hear you. Well, I appreciate that response. In terms of you, like as like the founder and like the CEO, like what is your day-to-day, like what does your week-to-week look like?
Yeah, so I think, for me, I always say the bigger the company grows, I feel like the easier my job becomes, because I really love what we do. I love our clients. I get excited by that. But, I identify a bit more as a visionary than someone who's like very operationally focused, right? So to me, kind of overseeing some strategies and motivating the team and kind of strategizing on how we can get even better, that really gets me fired up. So on a, day-to-day basis, I'm typically going to be reviewing some strategies for our clients, helping team members, figure out how to reach X client or X client's goals. But I have to say, right, like these days we're very focused. Well, personally, I'm very focused on building processes, right? Like we're hiring a lot. So obviously, I'm sure you're familiar with that, but there's a lot of steps to it. And if you're trying to reinvent the wheel every time, you're going to find some gaps, and it's going to become very exhausting. So creating those processes, and finding the right people to execute those, I would say is about 70% of what I do. Then obviously there's, helping some clients from time to time, motivating the team, and always trying to kind of get us to the next level in terms of and I'm not saying this just in terms of sales, but I'm talking as well like in terms of skills and what we're able to do and what we're able to achieve. I love the space itself, so it's pretty easy. I don't feel like it's hard work, to kind of do this. So yeah, I have to say I love what I do, and most of my days is spent doing those sort of things that I like doing.
That's great. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. In terms of like acquiring and retaining clients, like what's worked for you over the years? What do you do now? What have you done over the years? However you want to answer this in terms of acquiring new clients and also more importantly, keeping clients.
Yes. So in terms of acquiring new clients, we've been very lucky in a way that SplitBase, literally since its early days, has grown through referrals. We maybe have like $10 a day on Facebook ads that I probably haven't touched in like 6 months or so, right? So, we've been lucky in that sense where I love marketing, and I'd love that if we could be doing more. And, I also have a podcast that is on pause right now that I'd love to be able to restart. But honestly, I think just doing great work has served us well. We've gotten a lot of referrals from existing clients without even asking for them. And ultimately, as we meet new agencies, other agencies send us their stuff. And I have to say, when it comes to conversion optimization, there's not a lot of conversion optimization agencies that focus specifically on direct-to-consumer e-commerce like we do. Even before D2C became like a hot word, skincare and beauty was our biggest industry. We did a lot of the luxury brands at L'Oreal, so like Saint Laurent, Armani, Kiehl, and a bunch of them. And eventually, there were more upcoming brands that started appearing. And it kind of just like led us naturally into D2C stuff. So, we've been really lucky in that regards. Now, in terms of retaining clients, I have to say we've been incredibly lucky. Knock on wood, as of today, in 2 years, we've only had 2 clients go in another direction, which
Wow, that's
I'm pretty happy
Sean,
about.
man. That's huge.
Knock on wood again.
I just did.
I think of course there's I think 2 main things. Is one, we've never been super rushed. Like I started SplitBase because I really enjoy doing this. I didn't start SplitBase because I was like, I really want to make money and I'm going to find something to make money. If I wanted to do that, honestly, there's plenty of other types of agencies that would have been easier to start than conversion optimization. So I think there was that. We had, plenty of time to kind of set ourselves, to kind of create ourselves a solid foundation, and make sure that we were kind of, pretty smooth in how we were operating in our methodologies. On the other hand, I think it's the relationship we have with clients. And the reason why I say that is, look, we talk with all of our clients every week, on the phone. Obviously, count Slack messages and emails, it's nearly every day. I think the relationship that we have with our clients allows us to be very transparent with what we think is right for them and what we think isn't right. When they feel like there are things that need to be better, they're also very transparent with us, right? So I think that communication that we have with clients is very open, and it's really based on trust. And of course, look, if we didn't deliver them results, like if we didn't make them more money, they wouldn't stick with us. That is for sure. No relationship will save an agency that's not doing great work. But we've been constantly over investing in training, We constantly reward our team members for learning new skills and things like that. And I think that kind of pays off, and look, it doesn't mean that we're perfect. Like, we're not. But I think at the end of the day, we're optimizers, right? So that's kind of how I look at our own business. It's always like, hey, where are the weaknesses and how can we improve it? And, yes, there are probably blind spots and things like that. But so far, I think just that relationship, that trust that our customers have, and the training that we have internally to deliver those results have been pretty key.
That's so awesome. I really appreciate that. I've got two more questions for you, and I'm super appreciative
Yeah.
of your insight and your time. What tools are either you personally using, or what tools are the teams using to project manage, to facilitate workflow? What are some of the tools that you guys use?
Yeah, so we've tried so many over the years, and obviously every time we scale and we grow, we realize that the tools we were using does not work anymore. So we use some, combination of Airtable, Asana, which served us in some ways, but today we're pretty much all in ClickUp, which, we've heavily customized literally everything in there to fit our processes. But that's where we literally store, the insights that we gather from all the research methodologies we execute on. That's also where, our clients are able to track their landing page pipeline progress, successes, and same with the actual on-site A/B test, right? So now that's pretty much what we use for project management specifically. Obviously Slack, right? Who's not on Slack? So Slack and ClickUp, I would say, represents the majority of our stack when it comes to project management.
Awesome. Man, this has been so good. I have one final question for you.
Yes.
You can take this in any which direction you want. So knowing, you've started a couple businesses back in the day, some worked, some didn't, you run a successful agency. What advice would you give to someone starting out? And, would you steer someone in the direction of, hey, start an e-com biz, start, an agency, start freelancing? Like, do you have any strong thoughts around like advice that you'd give, or where you'd recommend kind of someone that you're maybe mentoring to start?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that I could say about this, but I think very often, as whatever you pick, whether you want to grow an e-commerce business or an agency or do something else, one thing that I think every entrepreneur will have experienced at one point is that you'll feel that the grass is greener on the other side. Now, here's the deal. Nothing is easy. If it would be easy, everybody would be doing it. So the thing is, look, pick what you feel the most drawn to, what interests you the most, because when times get tough, right? You're going to want to be doing something that you enjoy doing. So that's the thing. And that's something that I've seen often sometimes, where even, in some of the harder times, at the beginning of SplitBase, I was like, I should have started an e-commerce business. I should have done this. But then, I talk with some of my e-commerce friends, and they're like, it would have been so much easier to run an agency, right? Everyone always, everyone had that moment where they're like, oh, it would have been easier that way. But the truth is, no. I don't think it's truly easier. What's going to be easy, and obviously I'm saying easy very carefully, you're going to have an easier time, building a business that you truly enjoy than if you're only doing it for money or for proving something or things like that. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. And obviously finding that one thing can take some time. It took me like literally 4 or 5 failed businesses before, having something that truly worked. So patience is pretty key as well.
Such a good one to end on. Thank you so much for your time and all your insights. For anyone that wants to, work with you, work for you, learn from you, follow along, what are the best places for people to do that?
Yeah, so splitbase.com, that's really where it's at. Now I'm also on Twitter, R Paulin-Daigle. You'll probably have to look at the show notes to know how to spell that, but it's
I will
just
do that.
R and then my last name. I'm not the most active. I'm not as good as you, Chase, on Twitter, but once in a while, I share a few things that, you know, I think people can get quite a bit of value of. So yeah, on Twitter, and yeah, SplitBase.com is where it's at.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. Bye.
Bye.